Hello. In case we haven't been introduced or somehow run into each other before, my name is Paul Fox, and I am Chair of the PMEA State Council for Teacher Training, Recruitment, and Retention. Thank you for taking the time to listen or view my proposal for our summer meeting of the PMEA State Executive Board. The purpose of this video is to help provide you background information and answer any questions you might have in advance, so that when we have our meeting things will run smoothly. On behalf of the PMEA Council of TTRR, I would like to make a motion for PMEA's adoption of the National Association of State Directors of Teacher Education and Certification Model Code of Ethics for Educators. I hope you have received and read the materials I mailed to you, and if you were a board member last year, you may have recalled them at our summer 2019 meeting when I first introduced MCEE. And of course, we welcome our newest district presidents. So I guess the first big question that might be on your mind is, why? Why do we need this? I could counter with relating my gut reaction when I was first asked to present an ethics workshop for the PMEA District 7 Professional Development Day back in October 2017. Why? At the time, I was told there were several ethical issues that had occurred in districts on that half of the state of Pennsylvania around Philadelphia. And of course, it occurred to me at the time that yours truly, a teacher of more than 40 years of professional experience, had never had formal ethics training. How about you? Do you remember receiving anything from an ethics, formal ethics, in pre-service college courses, induction classes, or follow-up in-service programs? And I'm not talking about that first day of school lecture from the HR director about the school district policies on sexual harassment or discrimination or school records or confidentiality. So, would you ever suppose what a music teacher retiree does every morning now that I don't have to go to school like most of you? Well, after my two puppies get me up, we go outside. I make some coffee and I climb into our lazy boy chairs. We all sit back and doze again. And then if we turn on the television, we watch some horrible news stories of ethical issues. Things like CEOs or politicians or TV movie personalities. And yes, teachers. So the statistics are horrible. This graph and data are from the Pennsylvania Department of Education Professional Standards and Practices Commission, and it shows a very discouraging trend. We started off in 2011. We had 256 educators who had misconduct complaints filed on them, and if you look at 2016, there were 672 complaints filed. Remember that number, because we go into what the disciplinary case hearings, everybody gets a due process. There were 357 of those that went to hearings. And of that number, 81, or the blue section of this pie, had to surrender their teaching certificate. The green, revocation, and they were revoked. Their teaching license was revoked. And the light blue, another 31 were suspended. So that tells you that in 2016, 156 teachers in Pennsylvania received a serious certificate disciplinary action. And this number has only been going up. 2017, it was 160. 2018, it was 220. 2019, 215. So if you're curious about this, you can go up to the Pennsylvania Department of Education website and look at over 2,300 educators since 2004 have had disciplinary case resolutions, serious infractions. So it's probably not PMEA's role to be worried about fixing something that is broken. but perhaps it is something that would be appropriate for us to create something better. Part of the problem is those definitions that we use in the profession, as Harry Belafonte would have said, clear as mud, but it covers the ground. These are the foundation of what's right or wrong, and these definitions are hazy at times. I'm using Troy Hutchings as an ethics expert, and he defines personal morality, regulations of law, professional ethics, and professional dispositions, and they're all different. Combined, they make an ethical equilibrium for every professional, what we stand for to take care of students. And you might ask, what's the difference between a codes of conduct and codes of ethics? Well, it's kind of easy to see that most of the things we have in life are rules and regulations, mandates or prohibitions. These govern our actions. These are sort of like a stop sign. There's not a lot of debate. You must make a stop. And if you don't, there's potential discipline. Well, on the code of ethics side of things, these are more of a compass of helping you to make decisions, to guide you. So that would be more like an arrow. It doesn't tell you exactly how to turn the wheel, but does provide you principles, standards, values to help you make good judgments. So a good example is the Iowa teachers' code of conduct violations here, which basically lists all the no-nos. And on the other side, code of ethics, the New York State Code of Ethics, these teachers, these look like vision or mission statements. Educators nurture the intellectual, physical, emotional, social, civic potential of each student. And there's no one who would argue with that. So what's unique about a code of ethics, it's not defined in exact terms. It's not about a law, and it's not about a specific policy or statute. It's not a focus on our family upbringing, our values, or morals. It's not always black and white. There may be some shades of gray, and some of those are based on these open-ended choices you can make in the profession and the circumstances of what you are facing. So I guess code of ethics is above code of conduct. As Aldo Leopold says, it's doing the right thing when no one is watching, even when doing the wrong thing is legal. So if you were to ask me, don't we already have a code? Yes. It's hard to remember the name of it, but it's Code of Professional Practices and Conduct. And I guess you could call it CPPC. It's hard to remember. But the first word is code and the last word is conduct. And it's all based on the Educator's Discipline Act, which provides the teeth, the statutes, where if we do these things or don't do these things, we can be penalized and lose our certificate, be suspended, etc. And you should also be aware that PMEA is a nonprofit organization, and the Pennsylvania government has to follow compliance policies such as confidentiality, conflict of interest, whistleblowing guarantees, those sort of things. So we have all those things, but we don't really have a code of ethics. So who does? Well, first of all, I always ask music teachers, do you know what a fiduciary is? Are you a fiduciary? What organizations or professions are fiduciaries? Well, obviously medical profession, therapists or counselors of all types, attorneys, the clergy, and yes, educators are fiduciaries. The definition means you owe the highest legal duty. You are bound ethically to act in another person's best interests. And all these organizations have established across their profession codes of ethics, one code of ethics. American Medical Association may have actually looked to creating a code of ethics during a period of time that was like another pandemic we're going through right now, helping to provide guidance for doctors to know what the right thing to do and making the right decisions. And that's in 1847. but obviously the lawyers, bar association, psychology association, counseling association. But here we are, teachers with a captive audience, have no formal ethics training, and we're fiduciaries. We don't even know what our code of ethics would be. So what are we going to do? I propose that we adopt, easier to do the letters, MCEE, Model Code of Ethics for Educators. It has 5 sections. Each of those is a spoke in a wheel. They're equal in importance. It was actually only recently developed in 2012 and drafted first in 2015. There are 18 sections and 86 standards. There's the link to go look at it in depth. What's cool about these Code of Ethics is there's a large number of development partners. This was a collaboration. Includes teacher professional associations, AFT, NEA, includes administrators, includes college people, chief state school officers. So a lot of people had a lot of input in this. And I just want to point out, you look at this, it's not black and white. These are some of the provisions in it. Principle 1, responsibility to the profession. And I hear these things because I've had a lot of years in the field. Oh, I didn't know it was wrong to do that. A lack of awareness is not an ethical principle. I didn't break the law. It's not a big deal. Well, breaking the law is not an ethical issue necessarily. You must refrain from any activity, personal or professional, that may reduce your effectiveness as a teacher. That's an ethical standard. I'm not a rat. Well, actually, if you are a professional, your ethical principle says you have to report anyone who's placing at harm students. What's in it for me? Well, we don't hear that from PMEA members, do we? They already embrace the concept of professional development and standards. We have a national arts standards. We also have a wonderful model curriculum framework the PMEA has developed in crosswalk documents. We are into standards and professional development. You mean I needed to give him credit? We obviously model citing information, where did it come from, and providing references. I just do music in my class. Don't ask me to do anything else. That's not what a teacher is. Teachers are involved in, along with the school community, in trying to help close the achievement, opportunity, and attainment gaps. We all do that. It's an ethical standard. Avoiding the acceptance or giving of gifts. What is the implication? And of course, we never touch a student. Well, actually, the ethical guideline isn't so black and white. And I'll tell you right now, I know band directors, elementary band and string teachers that, with a clear purpose, help a student form their fingers and hands around an instrument. So there's an ethical statement here under number 3A6. You may have heard these as well. My students are my friends. They cannot be your friends. Any kind of ambiguity with your relationship with another professional or student or parent can actually sponsor or foster misconduct. You have to know that there are charges and we have to look out for them, but they're not our friends. Another ethical standard is diversity, respecting the dignity and worth of all classes, all kinds of people. He's weird. He's not one of us. It's no place in our profession. Wait till you hear what happened in class today. I have been guilty, just like everyone else, of having a story about Johnny in my second period class. And yet, besides being a law, FERPA, not supposed to divulge confidential information, it's an ethical code that we should be discreet. Don't tell my parents. How many times have you heard that? You must communicate with parents, guardians in a timely and respectful manner that represents the student's best interests. The students don't know what their best interests are. Did you hear what your colleague said about you? We have to collaborate and respect our colleagues and their divergent opinions at times. We must resolve conflicts in a professional manner. Not another team meeting. I'm tired of them. We collaborate with our colleagues in a manner that supports the academic achievement and related goals. That's part of an ethical standard. I was just teasing her. And the next word you hear is harassment. We have to work together to ensure a workplace environment that's free from harassment or safety problems. Don't ask for permission, beg for forgiveness. Well, I hate to tell you, that is a statement that has very little in a way of ethical foundations. If it's for your convenience that you just don't bother to tell anybody you're going to go do something just to get something done in a hurry or to have an opportunity for your music program, it's still not on good ethical foundations. You have to deal with the highest professional standards of accuracy, honesty, and you do have to communicate these things to administrators, to parents, to students. He's our preferred dealer and always takes care of us. Well, the implication of offering or accepting gifts or preferential treatment from a vendor, there's legal issues with that, but there's even more ethical issues, whether this is appropriate. And there are at least two for technology here. Isn't use of social media forbidden? I had to do a presentation recently for social media, and actually, boon or nemesis, there are more positive points for doing social media than there are negative. There are guidelines, and you must use media responsibly and carefully. And of course, we always tell students, take a look of what a Google search of your name will bring to you. And of course, are your social media posts clean? Have you curated them? So these were just examples of this code of ethics and how we might apply some of this decision-making guidance. The support for MCEE is across many state education departments, and in fact, Pennsylvania has endorsed it, but you almost see any mention of it on their website. There are a lot of prep programs and universities that also support it. And the question of whether we should endorse it or adopt it as PMEA, being a professional association, I would lean towards the adoption. Endorsement suggests we may incorporate the standards into our operations, while adoption means we will implement the standards. And I go back to Troy Hutchins again here. He suggests that there will be a next step if you adopt it, not endorse it. So you have to have a strategic plan for how you're going to educate your stakeholders, how you're going to implement the code of ethics. So how are we going to do it? Well, we're already on our way. Last summer in the PMEA Executive Board meeting, I did present this MCEE to you for your consideration. The Council for TTRR endorsed it in our October 2019 meeting, and that's why I'm bringing this to you. I'm hopeful that we will make a vote on my motion at the summer 2020 virtual meeting. Now, once the ideal thing is, as soon as this is approved, we will go through and educate our members in a variety of ways. Of course, we'll have already done some ethical articles in PMEA News. We will be specific about MCEE and for the e-publication for the good of the order. And I'm already doing ethical workshops across the state, 3 years of PMEA summer workshops, summer conference, and I think we were planning to do this, I was approved to do it for the spring conference. We'll have to wait and see in Erie. So I'm already geared up to provide some education on what does MCEE have to do with music teachers. So here are my references. If you're curious, you would like to do some research or some more information on your own, I really do recommend Troy Hutchins. And yes, the Pennsylvania Department of Education has an ethics toolkit online, which is outstanding. and none of us have ever seen it. None of us have ever seen it. Here's the motion. PMEA State Executive Board will officially adopt the Model Code of Ethics for Educators as published by NASDTEC, and furthermore will provide professional development on MCEE at future workshops and conference sessions and issues of PMEA News and PMEA publications. I hope you will support this motion. This is the right thing to do. Thanks for listening to me. Appreciate it. We'll see you sometime soon. Bye.